I downloaded the dating app 3 months after my divorce was finalized. My best friend Kelly insisted sitting alone in my apartment every night wasn't healing, it was hiding. I needed to get back out there, even if just to remember I was still a person capable of connection. The divorce had destroyed me. 8 years of marriage to Daniel ended because he'd been cheating with a coworker for 2 years. I'd found out accidentally a text message that popped up on his iPad while I was borrowing it to look up a recipe. The confrontation, the admission, the divorce proceedings, all of it had left me feeling worthless and broken. I'm Ashley Morgan, 34, and I work as a nurse at Seattle General Hospital. I'd met Daniel in college, married him at 26, built what I thought was a good life. We'd been trying for a baby when I discovered his affair. That loss not just of my marriage, but of the future I'd imagined had devastated me in ways I was still processing. So when Kelly suggested dating apps, I resisted. I wasn't ready. I was still raw, still healing. But she persisted. And finally, one night after too much wine, I created a profile on Match. I swiped through dozens of profiles over the next week, feeling discouraged. Everyone looked either too perfect or too damaged. Most conversations fizzled after a few messages. I was ready to delete the app when I matched with someone named Ryan Cooper. His profile immediately stood out. His photos showed a handsome man in his late 30s, dark hair with slight grey at the temples, warm smile, dressed well but not showy. His bio said he was a business consultant who travelled frequently for work, loved hiking and cooking, was looking for something real after his own divorce 2 years earlier. He messaged first. "Your profile mentioned you're a nurse. That's incredibly admirable work, especially now. I imagine it's been challenging the past few years." It was thoughtful, genuine. Not the usual "hey" or inappropriate opener I'd gotten from other matches. We started messaging daily. Ryan was smart, funny, emotionally available in ways Daniel had never been. He asked about my work, remembered details I'd mentioned in previous conversations, shared thoughtful observations about his own life. After 2 weeks of messaging, he suggested moving to phone calls. His voice was warm and comforting. We talked for hours about our failed marriages, our families, our dreams for the future. He was in Denver for a consulting project, he said, but would be back in Seattle in a few weeks. We could meet then. I found myself falling for him. It felt fast, maybe too fast, but after the betrayal with Daniel, Ryan's attentiveness felt like coming up for air after drowning. We started video chatting. The calls were always brief, he'd apologize, saying his hotel Wi-Fi was terrible or he had a meeting in 5 minutes, but seeing his face, hearing him laugh, made him feel real in a way texting hadn't. "I can't wait to meet you in person," he said one evening during a call. "You're unlike anyone I've met before. You make me believe in second chances." I felt the same way. Kelly was thrilled when I told her about Ryan. "See? I told you getting back out there was the right move." 6 weeks into our connection, Ryan called sounding stressed. "I have to tell you something, and I'm embarrassed to even bring it up." My stomach dropped. Here it comes, I thought. The reveal that he's married or has a criminal record or is somehow not who he claims to be. "My consulting contract fell through," he said. "The company decided to go in a different direction. I'm stuck in Denver with bills due and my savings are tied up in investments I can't access without penalties. I have a credit card payment due tomorrow, $15,000, and if I miss it, my credit gets destroyed." "That's awful," I said. "I'm so sorry. I wouldn't normally ask this, especially since we haven't even met in person yet. But you're the only person in my life right now who I feel like I can trust. Could you possibly lend me $15,000? Just for 2 weeks, until I can liquidate some investments. I'll pay you back with interest. I promise." I hesitated. $15,000 was a lot of money. It was most of my emergency savings money I'd carefully protected during the divorce. But Ryan had been there for me for 6 weeks. He'd listened to me cry about Daniel, supported me through difficult shifts at work, made me laugh when I'd forgotten how. We'd talked every single day. He'd shared intimate details about his own life, his own struggles, and he was in a genuinely bad situation through no fault of his own. "Let me think about it," I said. "Of course. I completely understand if you can't. It's a huge ask, and I feel terrible even bringing it up. But I'm desperate, and you're the one person I trust." I talked to Kelly. She was skeptical. "Ashley, you've never met this guy in person. Lending him $15,000 is insane. But we've been talking for 6 weeks. I've seen him on video chat. He's real. Has he shown you any proof of this consulting contract? Any documentation of his financial situation?" He hadn't. But asking for proof felt like I didn't trust him, and our whole relationship was built on trust after the betrayal with Daniel. I made a decision I would regret for a long time. I sent Ryan $15,000 via wire transfer. "You're saving my life," he said when I told him. "I'll never forget this. The moment I'm back in Seattle, we're meeting in person. I'm taking you to the best restaurant in the city. This is just temporary, 2 weeks maximum, and you'll have every penny back." 2 weeks passed. Ryan stopped answering calls. His texts became infrequent. "Still dealing with the investment liquidation," he'd say. "It's more complicated than I thought." 3 weeks. 4 weeks. His responses became even more sparse. After 5 weeks, I called him out directly. "Ryan, I need my money back. I can't keep waiting." "I know. I'm so sorry. There have been complications with the bank, but I promise, it's coming." After 6 weeks, he stopped responding entirely. His phone went straight to voicemail. His text turned blue, iMessage, no longer recognizing his number, meaning he'd either blocked me or changed his number. I tried calling from Kelly's phone. Same thing, straight to voicemail. Ryan Cooper had taken my $15,000 and disappeared. I felt sick, humiliated, stupid. How had I fallen for this? How had I sent $15,000 to someone I'd never met in person? I reported it to the police. They took a report, but were clear romance scams like this were extremely common, and recovery was rare. The money had likely been wired overseas immediately. Ryan Cooper was probably not even his real name. I reported it to Match. They closed his profile but said they couldn't provide information about users due to privacy policies. I felt like I'd been victimized twice, once by Daniel's affair, once by Ryan's scam. My judgment felt completely broken. How could I trust anyone again when I'd made such a catastrophic mistake? Kelly tried to comfort me, but I could see the "I told you so" in her eyes, even though she never said it. I went to work, came home, and tried not to think about the $15,000 I'd lost. Money I'd saved carefully over years. Money that represented security after the divorce. Gone. 2 months after Ryan disappeared, I was having dinner at my parents' house. My mum asked how I was doing, if I was dating again. I lied and said I was taking time to focus on myself. My dad was watching TV in the living room, some football game. During a commercial break, I heard him talking to someone on the phone. "Yeah, you should come over this weekend. Ashley will be here, but she doesn't hold grudges." I walked into the living room. "Who are you talking to?" "Your brother. I'm trying to convince him to come to Sunday dinner. He's been avoiding family gatherings since your divorce." My brother. Daniel's brother. Kyle. Kyle had always been close with Daniel. They'd grown up together, been best friends since childhood. When Daniel and I married, Kyle had been his best man. During the divorce, Kyle had sided with his brother, sending me angry texts about how I was destroying Daniel's life by leaving him, how I should have forgiven the affair. I'd blocked Kyle's number and stopped speaking to him entirely. "I don't want to see Kyle," I told my dad. "He made his position clear during the divorce." My dad sighed. "I know it's been hard, but he's family. Maybe it's time to rebuild bridges." I went back to the kitchen, irritated. The idea of seeing Kyle, of dealing with his judgment and hostility, felt intolerable. Then something nagged at me. A memory I couldn't quite place. Ryan's voice. During our phone calls, there had been something familiar about it. A cadence, a way of laughing, that reminded me of someone. No, that was insane. But the thought wouldn't leave me alone. That night, I went through every conversation I'd had with Ryan. The phone calls I'd recorded. I'd started recording them after a few weeks, wanting to preserve the moments that felt special. The video chats brief, always with excuses about bad Wi-Fi. I listened to Ryan's voice. Really listened. And I realized who it reminded me of. Kyle. My ex-husband's brother sounded exactly like Ryan Cooper. I felt cold. It couldn't be. That was too twisted, too elaborate. But I started investigating. I looked up photos of Kyle on social media. His accounts were private, but I could see his profile pictures. He was 37, dark hair, similar build to the man in Ryan's photos. The photos weren't the same. Ryan's photos showed someone slightly different, but they could have been stock photos or images stolen from someone else's social media. I compared the voice recordings, played Ryan's voice side by side with old videos I had of Kyle from family gatherings before the divorce. It was him. I was 90% sure. The voice, the laugh, the way he phrased certain things, it was Kyle. My ex-husband's brother had created a fake dating profile, catfished me for 6 weeks, convinced me to send him $15,000, then disappeared. This wasn't a random romance scam. This was targeted revenge for divorcing Daniel. I felt rage, unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Not just at losing the money, but at the cruelty of it. Kyle had exploited my vulnerability, pretended to care about me, made me believe I was connecting with someone real, all to punish me for leaving his brother. I called Kelly and explained my theory. She was horrified. Ashley, if this is true, this is criminal. Not just fraud, but something way more personal and malicious. How do I prove it? You need more evidence. Voice analysis, maybe? Or find out where Kyle was during the time Ryan said he was in Denver. I hired a private investigator. Cost me $2,000 I couldn't really afford, but I was desperate to prove what I suspected. The PI's name was Marcus Webb. He specialized in fraud investigation. I gave him everything: Ryan's profile photos, the phone number Ryan had used, the account he'd had me wire money to, recordings of Ryan's voice, and information about Kyle. Marcus worked for 3 weeks. What he found confirmed my worst fears. The photos on Ryan's profile were stock images purchased from a photography site. The phone number was a burner registered to a prepaid account. The bank account the money had been wired to was opened with a fake ID, but the IP address used to open it traced back to Kyle's apartment building. Most damning. Marcus obtained Kyle's credit card records. Legally questionable, but he had contacts. During the 6 weeks Ryan was supposedly in Denver, Kyle had made purchases in Denver. Hotel stays, restaurant charges, rental car, all in Denver, all matching the exact dates Ryan claimed to be there. Kyle had actually traveled to Denver to make his story more credible. When he video chatted with me from his hotel, he was actually in a real Denver hotel room. He'd spent money, probably a few $1,000s, on this elaborate scam to steal $15,000 from me. The voice analysis Marcus arranged confirmed with 95% certainty that Ryan and Kyle were the same person. I had proof. My ex-husband's brother had orchestrated an elaborate romance scam specifically to steal from me and humiliate me. I took everything to the police. This time, with actual evidence and a local suspect, they were interested. They opened a fraud investigation. I also filed a civil lawsuit against Kyle for fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and theft. Kyle's lawyer tried to deny everything. Claimed Kyle had been in Denver for legitimate business, that the circumstantial evidence didn't prove anything. But we had the voice analysis. We had the IP address. We had the pattern of travel matching Ryan's story. And critically, we had phone records showing calls between Kyle's actual phone number and the number Ryan had used, meaning Kyle had called himself to create the appearance of separate people. He'd gotten sloppy. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Kyle eventually admitted to it. Through his lawyer, he claimed it was just a prank that went too far. that he'd planned to give the money back eventually, that he was trying to teach me a lesson about being too trusting. That was a lie. A complete, calculated lie. If I hadn't figured it out, if I hadn't hired Marcus, if I hadn't connected the dots between Ryan's voice and Kyle's, he would have kept every penny of that $15,000. He would have left me believing I'd been scammed by a random stranger, never knowing the person who'd exploited my grief was someone from my own family. The criminal case moved forward despite his guilty plea. Kyle pleaded guilty to wire fraud and identity theft. He was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution plus damages. His lawyer had tried to argue for probation, claiming Kyle had no prior criminal record and was remorseful. The judge wasn't swayed. "Mr. Morrison didn't steal from a stranger," she said during sentencing. "He orchestrated an elaborate, months-long deception, targeting a family member during one of the most vulnerable periods of her life. This wasn't impulsive. This was calculated, cruel, and designed to inflict maximum emotional harm." I sat in that courtroom and watched Kyle's face as the sentence was handed down. He looked at me once, a brief, hateful glance, and I saw no remorse, only rage that he'd been caught. The civil case settled 3 months later for $45,000, the original $15,000, plus $30,000 in punitive damages and emotional distress compensation. Kyle's homeowner's insurance eventually paid, though he fought it every step of the way. Kyle's life was destroyed in other ways too. He lost his job, the tech company he worked for terminated him immediately after his conviction. His LinkedIn profile disappeared. His professional reputation was obliterated. His relationship with most of our extended family disintegrated. My parents were horrified when they learned what he'd done. My dad, who'd been trying to get me to rebuild bridges with Kyle, called me in tears, apologizing for pushing me towards someone so toxic. Even Kyle's own parents, Daniel's parents, who'd never liked me much, were appalled. His mother called me to apologize, crying, saying she didn't understand how she'd raised someone capable of such cruelty. Most surprising was Daniel himself. My ex-husband called me 3 weeks after Kyle's sentencing. "Ashley, I need you to know I had nothing to do with what Kyle did. I didn't know about it until after he was arrested. What he did was unforgivable." I believed him. Daniel was a cheater, but he wasn't cruel in this calculated way. "He told me he was doing it for me," Daniel continued. "That you'd destroyed my life and deserved to suffer." I told him he was insane. "You didn't destroy my life. I destroyed our marriage. You had every right to leave." It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever gotten from Daniel. It didn't heal anything, but it was something. I didn't forgive either of them. Daniel's affair had started this chain of events, and Kyle's twisted revenge had continued it. I used the settlement money carefully, paid off the last of my divorce legal fees, put some in savings, and used the rest as a down payment to move to a different city, Portland, where I'd always wanted to live. Seattle held too many bad memories. Every street corner reminded me of my marriage, my divorce, the humiliation of the scam. I needed a fresh start somewhere. Daniel's family couldn't reach me. I got a job at Portland General Hospital, found a small apartment in the Pearl District, started building a new life from scratch. I deleted all dating apps, removed Match, Bumble, Hinge, everything. The idea of trusting someone online again felt impossible. Maybe someday I'd be ready to date, but it wouldn't be through an app, and it wouldn't be anytime soon. Kelly visits me in Portland every few months. She always brings wine and takeout, and we spend the weekend walking around the city, pretending everything is normal. She feels guilty for encouraging me to try dating apps in the first place, even though I tell her repeatedly it's not her fault. "You couldn't have known Daniel's family was that vindictive," she says every time the topic comes up. She's right. But I should have been more careful. I should have listened to the red flags. The refusal to meet in person for months, the brief video chats with convenient technical difficulties, the eventual request for money that came with a perfectly timed sob story. I'd been so desperate to feel wanted again after Daniel's affair that I'd ignored every warning sign. I'd wanted to believe Ryan was real because believing meant I could be loved again, that I wasn't permanently broken by my divorce. Romance scams work because they exploit loneliness and hope. Kyle understood that perfectly. He'd watched me go through the divorce, seen how destroyed I was, witnessed my pain at family gatherings before I stopped attending. He knew exactly which emotional buttons to push, which vulnerabilities to exploit. He'd created Ryan Cooper, specifically for me, a divorced business consultant who understood pain and loss, who was emotionally available, who said all the right things at the right times. Every detail of Ryan's story was calibrated to make me trust him. And it had worked. For 6 weeks, I'd believed I was falling in love. I'd believed someone saw me, valued me, wanted to build a future with me. That might be the cruelest part. Not just stealing my money, but stealing my hope, making me believe in connection again, then revealing it was all fake, all designed to hurt me. I keep the court documents from Kyle's conviction in a folder in my desk drawer. The guilty plea, the sentencing transcript, the settlement agreement. Not because I'm proud of winning, there's no pride in being scammed by someone who hated you, but because I never want to forget how far people will go to hurt you when they believe you've wronged them. Kyle thought I'd destroyed Daniel's life by divorcing him. In his mind, I was the villain who broke his brother's heart, who refused to forgive a mistake, who prioritized my own pain over family unity. So he tried to destroy mine in return, tried to take my money, my trust, my ability to believe in love again. Sometimes it's someone who knows exactly how to hurt you because they watched your marriage fall apart. Someone who knows your vulnerabilities because they sat across from you at family dinners and observed your pain. Someone like Kyle, who turned that knowledge into a weapon designed to devastate. And those are the most dangerous scammers of all, because they're not motivated by simple greed. They're motivated by hate, by a desire to punish you for perceived wrongs, by a twisted sense of loyalty that justifies cruelty as justice. Kyle is in federal prison now. He'll serve at least a year before parole eligibility. When he gets out, he'll have a felony conviction, a destroyed reputation, and a fractured relationship with his own family. I should feel satisfied by that, vindicated. But mostly, I just feel tired. Tired of being hurt by people who were supposed to care about me. Tired of rebuilding myself after betrayals. Tired of wondering if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. But I'm still here. Still working, still living, still figuring out who I am without Daniel, without the scam, without the constant weight of other people's cruelty. That's something. Maybe not everything, but something. And for now, that's enough.